User-generated content, building communities. This is something all internet retailers want to do. Let's talk about with probably the top expert in the world at doing those things. He's going to tell you how to do it. So I'm Daniel Burstein, the Director of Editorial Content at MarketingSherpa. Joining me now is Jimmy Wales, the founder of Wikipedia. Thanks for joining us, Jimmy.
Great. Thanks for having me.
So, as we were talking about, user-generated content, right? All internet retailers want to do this. So, before any interview, I always go on Wikipedia and research the people.
Yeah.
And I saw that you didn't start with Wikipedia. You started with a previous encyclopedia.
Yeah.
That was more controlled by experts, right?
Yeah. So Nupedia, the prior project, we didn't really understand online communities very well. We wanted it to be high quality, so we thought we should just recruit experts to write the entries. It was a very top-down, very old-fashioned review process, 7 stages to get anything published. And it failed because it was too stressful and too difficult for volunteers to participate in. So we started over with Wikipedia, decided to take a full 180 and be as open as possible for as long as possible. We had to deal with problems as they came up in new ways. So it was a journey, really.
So here's the thing, when internet retailers are trying to get that user-generated content, essentially they're getting free labor, right? So what is the value proposition for people to get involved? Why should internet retailers, how can they convince people to get involved and generate content on their sites?
Right, well, so one of the most important things that I think, and I always speak against the term crowdsourcing for this reason, is that a lot of people do approach it from that mindset. They think, I want to get some content, so I need some free labor to build content for me. So I start with a chunk of work, and then I figure out how to get people to do that work for me. And that's completely backwards. It's sort of like if you open up a bowling alley and you said, gee, we've got all this bowling to be done, how are we going to trick people into bowling for us, right? Instead you say, well wait, what do people want? They want, let's talk bowling, right? They want leisure time activity, they want some beer and a hot dog, they want it to be family friendly, they'd like to have a league so they can compete with other teams and so on. So you think, okay, what's the infrastructure we can build here? We'll offer a bowling league, we'll make sure there's hot dogs and beer and people will come because you're thinking about what do they need first. And so I think retailers who think, gee, I want people to do this work, I want them to write reviews for me. Instead, they should turn around and say, what is it my customers want to accomplish? What is it that they're trying to express, and how can I help them express that? And it may lead you in completely new and different ways. It may lead you, instead of saying, we're going to review products, right? Maybe that's boring. Maybe nobody wants to do that. But maybe you notice in your forums or you notice feedback from your customers, what they really want to do is discuss wine or whatever it is your product is in a more general way, right? They don't want to review individual products. They want to sort of add their expertise, build a community of people who are into the same kind of CRM software or whatever it might be. And so I think that's really the first advice I would give is flip it on its head. Don't think about the work you would like people to do. Think about what it is people want to do and how can you empower them to do that.
Great, what's in it for them? And that, I guess, is how you built a true community, which leads to my next question of, a lot of times when marketers finally they get some content on their sites, it's a lot of spam filled, it's very self-promotional, everyone's trying to get their inbound links. How have you built actually high quality content? How can internet retailers do that?
It's a struggle, and I think for us, the core piece of it is that we are an encyclopedia first, and so that everybody knows what an encyclopedia is. So already, right out of the beginning, we know that promotional language, PR puff, and so on doesn't really belong with us in the first place. I think that when you have a site, an e-commerce site, where you really do want reviews, or you want feedback, product feedback, and so on, there is a huge incentive for the bad parties to come in and spam you. There's a huge incentive for people to unscrupulously say the product is great or the product is bad. TripAdvisor is a good example. They've struggled with this for years, and they've done a pretty good job of dealing with it, but in part they've dealt with it by being big enough and so popular that you sort of know some of the reviewers aren't honest, but there's enough people reviewing that it's kind of okay. But they look for, they sort of actively have to police it, and it's not cheap. It's not easy. So I think a big part of it is recognizing it's always going to be hard in certain areas where, particularly when you're really, the closer you get to the checkout point, the more sort of trouble you're going to get because it's too boring to write about. too boring to volunteer for.
Right.
There's a lot of incentives for bad people to come in and try to do something, and so it's going to take a lot of policing. And I think that a big part of it is try and build a genuine community. A lot of websites are really quite atomistic in the sense that I go there, I interact with the website, I leave a comment, I leave a review, I go away, I never come back. I don't know anyone there. I don't have a group of friends who are on there. Whenever it's possible, it's not possible for all kinds of things. Like, I don't think, nobody wants to be sort of a community member at Amazon who, well, I shouldn't say nobody, they probably do have them, but who just cares about Amazon, right? They're interested in products or whatever, but there are a lot of particularly smaller e-commerce opportunities where your customers are a community, or they would love to meet other people who are doing the same thing they're doing, have a conversation about it. Try to empower those people in your community, because those are the ones who are going to say, oh God, we really hate it when the spammers come in, we really hate it when this happens. Give them the tools that they can help you filter it out. So it can be very powerful.
So that's a great point. There's likely already communities existing outside of your site, kind of tap into some of those niches.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I like to think of the example of a wine store, a local retail wine shop. And if they're trying to figure out what to do online, they realize there's an opportunity, they realize that brick and mortar is under pressure, and you just think, well, probably your customers would love to know each other. People who are into wine love to get together for a wine party or something, and you can empower that. You've always done it through a paper newsletter back 20 years ago, right? Do more of that. Do more of like bringing those people together who will evangelize to others. Somebody will say, you know a lot about wine. I'm so intimidated, I don't know what to do. And then they'll say, oh, actually, there's this great community you can join. We're all around this wine shop, which is in your neighborhood. Join this forum. We're discussing the wines. You can go down there and buy the wines. They're very, that kind of building community online. That's just a small local wine store. That doesn't work for everything. But I think there are a lot of businesses where you've got, maybe you're a software as a service platform with 7,000 customers, right? So you're not Salesforce.com, but you're also not tiny, but you've got 7,000 customers. And guess what? All those 7,000 customers have the same problems, the same issues. They're a customer of your product for the same kinds of reasons. Try and get them together. Try to make them super happy, and they'll evangelize for you rather than trying to get them to do e-commerce things for you.
Excellent. And lastly, taking care of your community, treating people right. Wall Street Journal recently did a study of the top 50 internet sites. There was only one that didn't track people at all.
Yes.
It's Wikipedia, but you have conversion objectives as well. You want to give people information, you want to get donations. So what do you know that the other 49 sites don't?
Well, so in part, one of the things that that we've done in the past, so we used to, and I think we still do as of today, but this is changing, we used to only record 1 out of every 1,000 hits to the website in logs, and then we'd do some statistical analysis and burn the logs. And partly that was just capacity. We didn't have the capacity to do anything else. Now we've developed more capacity and so on. I think we're going to start doing, but not tracking people, but we're going to actually log everything, and then again run the stats and delete the logs as quickly as possible, because we are starting to see the value in a deeper understanding of the flow people have through the website, particularly for editors. When you click on edit, what are the things that cause you to either save your edit and come back again and edit again, or that cause you to not finish your edit, or to finish your edit and then never come back, and so on. So we're trying to study those things a little bit more, and data is really important for that. But we also have a very strong set of principles around not spying on people. I mean, we're like, a lot of librarians have the same view, that what you read is your own business. And we mean that in a fundamental human rights kind of way. And so we will always try not to, and we never share data with third parties. We never try to sell our data. I'm sure we can make some money if we put a cookie on and sold it to, ad companies of what are people reading at Wikipedia. But I would find it extremely disturbing if I'm reading about something in Wikipedia, possibly a personal health issue of a family member, and then suddenly I see ads about that elsewhere. That's okay for some things, it's not okay for Wikipedia.
Getting stalked across the internet.
Getting stalked across the internet. And I do find, people do find it a little bit creepy. Not that long ago we had a conference in Israel, and there was an idea that we would do a trip and cross over into the West Bank and do a little tour. So I visited the website of this tour company that was doing that, and for 2 weeks all around the web I kept seeing ads for this tour, and I'm like, that's really creepy. Obviously these websites don't know, it's Google ads and so on, so I understand the technology, so I'm not that bothered by it. But I think a lot of people find that kind of thing very creepy, and it's something you really have to watch out for.
Well, thank you very much for your time, Jimmy.
Yeah, great.
So, and if you want to watch more interviews like this, we are here at IRCE running the MarketingSherpa Media Center. You can see them at marketingsherpa.com/IRCE. And if you want to know about pretty much everything else in the world, you can visit wikipedia.org.